This is Screencast 1.3 on scientific materialism. Now, in the last screencast, we looked at materialists from the early part of the 19th century and early 20th century. But in this screencast, I would like to look at the way that atheism and materialism is coming up in today's world. Most of the arguments that you'll hear today from atheistic thinkers are sort of on the scientific materialist end of the spectrum. And in order to understand scientific materialism, we need a better definition of what this word materialism means. Now, materialism is a metaphysical perspective on the world that says that matter is all that matters. Basically, what it's saying is that the physical world is all that exists, that there's nothing beyond this physical reality, and that we can find all of the answers that we seek by simply looking at the physical world and drawing conclusions from its behavior. Now, it's very tempting when we start to think about materialism to think about it in kind of the Madonna material girl sense. That's sort of how we're taught to think about it in economics or in sociology. But when we talk about materialism in religious studies, materialism is really, it's more like the materialism you talk about in physics. Everything that exists has a material cause. It all started with the Big Bang, and through chemistry, physics, and through the scientific method, we can explain everything that's happened since. The key players in today's new atheist or scientific materialist movement are these four, the quote-unquote four horsemen of the new atheism: Richard Dawkins, Sam Harris, Daniel Dennett, and the late Christopher Hitchens. These four argue, in essence, that religion is intellectually soft, that a religious explanation for something keeps us from really searching for the fundamental truth, for the scientific truth on how this thing came into being. I think in large part the rise of the new atheist movement can be attributed to the ongoing debate, especially in the United States, over evolution and creationism. Since its publication in the late 1800s, Charles Darwin's The Origin of the Species has been incredibly controversial. And there have been a lot of attempts to try to make what Darwin says in The Origin of the Species on evolution make sense alongside a theistic or God perspective. Is it possible to reconcile a belief in God with a belief in the evolution of species? This is a huge question for religious studies right now. The new atheists would say that evolution is scientific fact, and that there is no need for a concept of God to understand and explain the origins of the universe. One way of understanding this is the God of the gaps theory. Now, the God of the gaps theory was popularized by the late Stephen Jay Gould. And the idea is that we have the things about the world that we know. There are these relatively small, pieces that we know, and then we've got a whole bunch of stuff that we don't know or that we don't understand. And so what we do, because we don't know those things and because we don't understand them, we put in God. God fills those gaps. Now, the problem with this way of thinking of things is that as those gaps get smaller, as our knowledge of the world gets greater and greater, and those gaps get smaller and smaller and smaller, there's ultimately no place for God. Conversely, by putting God into those gaps, this kind of takes certain areas of knowledge off the table. It makes it seem like we shouldn't really be looking into things that we've already got a God explanation for. So, for example, if we know that God created the universe, then do we really need to understand the Big Bang? Do we really need to understand the development of the universe over time and the idea of evolution? Because if we can explain these things through God, that will keep us from searching for these answers. Richard Dawkins, one of the new atheists, believes that this is the primary problem with religion. That the primary problem with religion is that it keeps us from searching for scientific truth. And it keeps us satisfied with our ignorance. So this raises a question. Is there a limit to what we can know? Is there an endpoint for human knowledge? And this is a huge question. Now take a look at this Dilbert cartoon. Dogbert comes up to Dilbert and says, "Do you think the chemistry of the brain controls what we do?" And Dilbert says, of course I do. Then how can we blame people for their actions, Dogbert says. Well, because people have free will to do as they choose. But then are you saying that free will is not part of the brain? Of course it is, because it's the part of the brain that's out there just being kind of free. So you're saying the free will part of the brain is exempt from the natural laws of physics. And then Dilbert says, obviously, otherwise we couldn't blame people for anything they do. And Dogbert says, do you think the free will part of the brain is attached, or does it just float nearby? And then Dilbert tells him to shut up. Now, the point here is that we've got a lot of things in our lives that we don't explain through scientific method, or that really we have trouble explaining using that materialist idea. And perhaps that's the portion of human knowledge where religion can come in. We'll discuss that a little bit more in the next podcast, where we talk about the idea of faith and William James' ideas on the psychological foundations of religion.